Offline Mobile Data Solutions. That's the title of our webinar today. Look forward to having an entertaining and informative session with you. And I would like to start by introducing your speakers today, because you've got two that are going to be presenting the session with you today. So we'll go ahead and quickly run through an agenda and then start with the speaker introductions. So just so you're aware of what we're going to cover today, once we've done the introduction of the speakers, we'll tell you a little bit about my corporation, just so you have an understanding of who's presenting to you today as a company. We'll talk about the world of offline data challenges and some market data that we've looked at, some of the solutions that we've seen, how people have tried to solve this challenge of collecting, accessing, reporting information offline. We'll specifically address my corporation offline data replicator solution. That is a new technology that we are releasing. And then Dave Nakamura will be giving you a live demo today, so stay tuned for that. At the end of it, we do want to take all your questions, just like Shay mentioned. We do want to take note of all your questions through the chat window and questions window. Have a discussion, and we also have a pop quiz lined up for you today. So if you're not aware of this, we have a $5 gift card to Starbucks that we'll be giving away to the first correct answer in the chat window for our pop quiz question. So stay tuned and make sure you're ready for that caffeine dose that's going to come your way by virtue of Starbucks. So with that agenda today, let's go ahead and get started. Your speaker introductions today, Gautham Pandiyan. I am the Sales and Marketing Vice President in my corporation. I've been here for 5 years, helping various organizations implement mobility solutions, ranging from government agencies to Fortune 500 companies, pharmaceutical groups, and a variety of others. It's been a pleasure to be here at this time. And a little fun fact about me that relates to mobility. Avoid standing behind me at TSA lines at airport security, because of all the gadgets that I usually carry. I usually have to pull a number of them out, put them through security, so you end up spending some time behind me if you get caught behind me at TSA lines. I'd also like to introduce our co-presenter today, David Nakamura, who is the Director of Quality Assurance and a Senior Developer on the My Corporation Development Team. David said that he'll offer some bonus points to whoever is able to guess where this picture was taken. So if you've got a guess for that, put it in the chat window, and we'd love to see what you think. David's been in My Corporation for 13 years, so quite some time, a length of experience around mobility right from the early days here. And fun fact about Dave, turns out that he just discovered FaceTime. And so he's been using it quite a bit in his work and personal life and a variety of other things too. So there he is. So Dave, you want to say hello?
Hi, everyone. Good to be here.
Excellent. So now you know who's going to be presenting to you today. Let me introduce my corporation. And to start off with, we'd like to talk about why we do what we do. We've been doing this for 14 plus years, and it's important that we come to work every day strongly believing that mobile information positively impacts the world. And we mean the world of our customers, the various organizations that are implementing our technology, our customers' customers, the folks that our customers are serving in a variety of capacities, their stakeholders, including their managers, executives, their end users in the field, a number of different folks, and the communities that they're making an impact in. We're proud to play a part in that and have an impact in the world. So we strongly believe in this, and this brings us to work every day and makes us passionate about what we do. Now that you know why we do what we do, let's tell you a little bit about who we are. So for those of you that are not aware, my corporation is a Mobile Information Corporation. We've been in business for about 14 years, focused on mobility solutions. Our solutions are really geared towards optimizing mission-critical processes. So we mean the word mission-critical here, where your organization has a process that cannot stop. It can't just take a break because some technology had a hiccup and doesn't work quite right. So we're talking about field inspection processes, about patient data collection, about clinical trials data collection, talking about a number of different data collection exercises and business processes. And to do that, we've got software products for mobile phones, for mobile apps, and dashboarding and analytics as well. And we've been in the marketplace for quite some time, so we're proud to release version 10 of one of our products. And we pride ourselves on creating very flexible technology because we do serve a lot of customers and partners in a variety of industries and vertical markets as well. We partner with industry leaders in the hardware side and other strategic partners like Intel and Microsoft, as well as Panasonic, Motion Computing, Samsung, and Anodo. And we're proud to say we've got 10 issued U.S. patents and 3 more that are coming. Show some real intellectual leadership as well. That's our Durham, North Carolina headquarters. We've got presence in Utah, Austin, and Seattle, Washington, where Dave is located as well, along with a number of partners around the world. So that tells you a little bit about who we are. We're also pretty well defined by some of the customers that we've served over the years. A variety of folks ranging from large healthcare systems to government agencies to Fortune 500 companies, you name it. We've worked with a number of folks, helping them optimize their mission-critical process. So what kind of problems do we solve for those customers? To wrap up my introduction of my corporation, we solve problems related to employee productivity. In optimizing these mission-critical processes, we help make employees more productive and improve staff productivity across the organization. We help processes become more streamlined and efficient. We help organizations reduce costs from several of our products. We also help them with getting real-time data and information reported as quickly as possible for purposes of other processing and other steps. Data accuracy problems are something that plague some of our customers, and we certainly help them solve those as well. And we help our customers look like progressive organizations and provide better customer service to their customers and quick turnaround times. And so those are some of the problems that our mission-critical optimization products are solving. And with that context, that tells you a little bit about who we are. So before we dive into today's topic, which is really offline mobile data solutions, I would like to survey the audience real quick with a poll. And I will launch this poll. It will show up on your screen. I'm curious about how many of you have dealt with offline data challenges in your mobility projects. So we'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and take the poll. It should be on your screen right now. And as you go ahead, you'll have about another 30 seconds or so to take this poll. We'd love to find out how many of you have dealt with this challenge or have to or anticipate having to deal with this challenge. And while the poll is sort of going through for the next 15 seconds or so, if any of you have trouble with it, feel free to chat in the chat window, and I'll ask Shay to jump up and let us know. Okay, I see quite a number of you taking the poll. Thank you. About 58% of you voted. We'll leave it open for 5 more seconds here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the poll. And if you haven't jumped in here, I'm now closing the poll. If you're curious about the results, I'm going to share those with you right now. So that gives you an idea of how many of you on the audience right now have dealt with these challenges. 30% of you have dealt with this challenge. 52% haven't deployed a mobility project yet. I anticipate that when you do, you probably will have to deal with this. And it looks like 17% of you have figured out a solution. So you're just here to learn, perhaps, and see how somebody else has dealt with it. Well, thank you for taking that poll. That was interesting to understand where our audience is today. So with that, let's move ahead and actually talk about the world of offline data challenges. So mobility solutions have helped us highlight the gaps of various technologies. First of all, you've seen the examples of web browsers and websites. And all of you have been on websites, probably, that have been optimized for mobile devices. And you've been on websites that have not been optimized for mobile devices. It's very clear which ones have been optimized. And so until we had mobile devices really proliferate, we didn't really care, right? We just used our web browsers on a desktop or laptop, and that was how it was meant to be. When we had a proliferation of mobile devices, we realized we need our websites to be responsive. Using technology like HTML5 and responsive design, it highlighted the fact that we need different interfaces to work on these devices. Well, the same thing is true with connectivity. When we were all sitting at a desk using the internet and other systems that we needed on a computer, desktop computer or laptop computer, we didn't really see the need for as much connectivity. Now when we're doing work at any time in any place, we really see the need for that connectivity. So this is the proliferation of mobility devices and solutions has really highlighted how much we need connectivity or how much we need offline capable solutions. Now the converse of this is we're connected all the time. We're always working. We're always on the go. So a little fun fact for you. I found this rather amusing, so I thought I would share this with you. There's a bar, well, there's a hypothetical bar that has an offline glass where they serve you beer in a glass that will only work if it's put on top of a cell phone, because the way the glass is set up, it's supposed to sit on top of your cell phone cover. And so that forces you to put your phone away and put your beer glass on top of it and be served beer and talk to the person next to you and not be texting on your phones and playing on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes people want to be offline and disconnected, and we totally get that too. Now, the connectivity problem has also been taken to the fact that in devices like Google, the Chromebooks from Google, you've seen several of those that work only in a cloud-based environment, which is great. It stores all the data you need in the cloud. What happens when you're in those disconnected areas? You've got a problem. Certainly, ubiquitous technologies like Google Maps, they have also strived to address this. They've jumped up and now made the technology available to work offline. You know, clearly, everyone understands, even in today's world, we're not going to be connected everywhere we go. More specifically, how this relates to people we've worked with a lot, we work with a lot of government inspectors in the field that are in very remote, disconnected environments with oil and gas inspectors that are out there doing inspections for rig permitting, construction, for other field tasks, where they're in very rural, disconnected areas. One of our customers, IDCRP, which is a group of NIH and DoD affiliated clinical sites, conducts clinical trials on Army bases around the world where they cannot connect to the network, and they've got to do everything they need to do for mission-critical clinical trial data collection offline. And so these are the kind of folks that we're helping go paperless and still have everything they need from a connectivity standpoint when they're offline. Some market survey for you. So as we talk about the world of offline data challenges, we took the data from Field Technologies magazine from an issue they did last year. And they surveyed about 630 executives at various organizations that have a lot of field staff. And we asked them, do your mobile workers currently communicate with the back office in real time? Looks like 2/3 of them say yes. Do they have trouble with wireless connectivity? 3/4 of them say yes. So the communication need is there, and they're having a lot of trouble with that connectivity. How crucial is this real-time connectivity? 66% of them say it's important, but not crucial. 29% of them says it's absolutely crucial. What is the biggest challenge in wireless connectivity? As we mentioned before, that being in those rural, remote areas is where they have most trouble. It turns out that a good chunk of them still have trouble when they're indoors at customer locations. We've all seen the situations where cell signals have dropped when we're in pretty connected urban zones. And a bunch of them say, you know, they don't know, but it's frustrating when they drop that connectivity. And so connectivity is a challenge both in those rural, remote areas as well as in hyper-connected areas where we should have more connectivity than we do. Looking at the top 5 features for field service software, looks like it came in at number 5 here, the ability to work completely untethered and offline, not compromising because of your connectivity situations. So clearly, there's a lot of need for connectivity independent and agnostic solutions. So some offline data solutions that we've seen and heard in the marketplace, and I'm going to let Dave Nakamura jump in here and tell us a little bit about these solutions. And we've seen 2 or 3 classes of solutions, how people have gone about solving the offline data challenge as it relates to mobility. So Dave, you want to tell the audience a little bit about what you've seen and heard in the marketplace?
Sure. Certainly there's a lot of technologies out in the marketplace. One of those being web-based HTML5. HTML5 is, well, HTML in general and web technologies have grown. The current ongoing standard now is using HTML5, which has a number of different offline type of storage capabilities. One of those being something called local storage, which allows you to store a limited amount of data locally onto the local machine in your browser. And another technology of HTML5 is just manifest caching or your app caching. And so what it allows you to do is when you're connected, it will download the website content and the resources it needs to run that website. When you do go offline, the browser will basically know you're offline, but will still be able to run your site in order to, let's say if you're doing calculations or access data that you downloaded through local storage. So in that sense, HTML5 can be used. But like I said, that amount of storage that it actually uses is limited. Each browser has its limits as far as how much data it will allow you to hold while you're offline. Another technology that we've seen in the mobile space has been the use of SQLite. SQLite has been a great data store because it's fairly ubiquitous across different types of devices. So that can be very advantageous in terms of development time and so forth. As far as the amount of data that you can store, it can store a fairly large amount of data, and so that can be very useful as well. One of the biggest challenges, though, has been how do you integrate with it? How do you download the data? How do you, just the challenge of going from your data source to the SQLite that's going to be hosted or is going to be located locally on a device, and then how does the application access that particular SQLite database? It requires a little bit more development time than it does in, let's say, HTML5 when you're using a local storage type of arrangement.
Great, thank you, Dave. We appreciate that overview.
Sure.
And by the way, for the audience, if you agree or disagree with anything that we say, feel free to chat it in the chat window. We love your comments. And this is certainly some of the things that we've seen in the marketplace. If you've got this to add, we'd love to hear from you as well. So we've got, on that note, we've got another poll question to ask you. And so let's go ahead and launch our second poll of the day. And this should be showing up across your screen in just a moment. The question is really, have you used one of these methods that we've just discussed to tackle your offline mobile data challenges? So this should be showing up across your screen. Go ahead and take the poll when you see it. We'll give you about 30 to 45 seconds to vote in this poll. And during that time, maybe Dave Nakamura is going to give us some nice little elevator music.
Oh, yeah, I'd love to. I don't know, maybe I could whistle.
I was joking with Dave earlier that he's going to show us how he auditioned for American Idol on one of these hold times.
Yeah, obviously I didn't make it.
Keep trying, Dave. Don't give up. Okay, so we've got about 45% of you that voted. Hopefully a few more of you will jump in. We're going to close the poll in about 5 seconds. 55%. Look at that motivation there. Okay, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the poll now. And let me show you what you guys said. It looks like about 32% of you said, for sure, you used some of these solutions and it hasn't necessarily, you learned that it wasn't necessarily the most optimal. 59% of you said, nope, you haven't heard of these, but we'd like to try them out. So we're glad to add any informational value to what you do and don't know today. So we're glad to have educated in that sense. So thank you for taking the poll. Well, let's go ahead and move along here. So you've seen a little bit about what kinds of solutions we've seen and heard in the marketplace. So at my corporation, we strongly believe that if you have no connection, there should be no problem at all. You shouldn't have to compromise in any way for your mission-critical business process. So we believe that you need to have software that securely stores the data that you need offline, that allows you to pre-populate information when you need it. So you've got reference data available for lookups, for past inspections, or past patient records, things like that. And there's a number of pieces in the My Corporation offline data replicator solution that go into that leverage SQLite and some of the other things that you've heard about. So Dave's going to tell you about that in a little bit more detail. For those of you that are technical junkies, you can certainly get your fill of that. And just so you know and you're aware, our offline data replicator module is available with MyForms Enterprise, which is one of the products we'll talk about later, and My Enterprise apps. So those are the two products from my corporation that incorporate this offline data replicator module. Okay, so Dave, I'm going to turn this back over to you to discuss a little bit about what challenge did you and the development team set out to solve when you conceived and came up with this module. And then tell us a little bit about the technology behind it.
Sure, thank you, Gautham. So some of the challenges that companies have as far as offline data have been how to get that data onto the mobile devices and make sure that when they are online that they get the most recent versions and updates and additions to that data, just keeping that data fresh with the back-end system and making sure that that basically happens in the background. So minimizing the amount of user interaction in order to make that happen can really streamline the process so that the user can be all set and ready and be able to go offline as needed and go out in the field and collect data. Then the other part is making sure that that data is secure, not only when transacting with where the data came from, the data source, but also when you're using it on the client device. And then certainly once the data is collected, just making sure that all that data is synced back to the back-end systems when they do come back online, and making sure that that occurs seamlessly as well. So. And so if we move forward, Gautham, what we have is a solution, what we call the data replication module that we have here at my corporation. Basically, you have any type of data source. You can see here listed here we have a number of different types of databases, but the data source can also be a CSV file. It can also be a web service. So it all depends upon your existing data source. Basically what you would use is a module to basically pull in that data from those services or databases and all that. And then what we do is take the existing data. We have a way of we have a couple of different modules that will be able to analyze that data and look at that, and then determine what type of schema to use, and then also what the data content obviously is as well. We send that up to a repository, and that would be the data replication server itself using SQL Server, and it's going to host that data. Then the clients will be able to register in saying, I'd like this piece of data or this filter or this query on that data, and I'd like to sync it while I'm online and then put it into a SQLite database so that when I do go offline, that SQLite database content is available to my application or to my form so that it can be used while out in the field. So all of those items are available, and like I said, they're available for both apps or within a form as well.
Great. Well, thank you, Dave. A reminder to the audience, if you have any questions about any of this, feel free to chat that. We will track it and answer it at the end, we promise. Appreciate you going over that technical architecture of the My Corporation Offline Data Replicator. We got some feedback from one of our development partners, a firm called Concrete Data, that does a number of mobile app development projects. And you might be asking, how is this different than some of the other technologies that you're going to invariably encounter out there? And you'll see a comment, a testimonial from them, talking about how there's a much more seamless experience using this module in terms of removing data chunking, automatically synchronizing data changes in the back end, because most of you have enterprise systems that are going to change. You're going to make updates to those tables, and you don't want to have to go make all those changes every time on every device. You want all that to happen automatically. Users will have to worry about the least number of things. Administrators will have to worry about the least number of things, and everything just sort of flows once you set it up there. And that's one of the key testimonials and testaments to how this is set up to work. So without going into great detail there, we will reiterate the fact that we believe you've got no connection. We've got no problem with that at all. We want to keep you going, so your mission critical process will just keep turning along. When you realize you can't stop and wait till you've got that back to keep doing what you need to do. And we talked earlier about what products from my corporation incorporate this technology. So at first, we've got our MyForms mobile data capture software product. So this is a platform that includes a drag and drop design tool that's a bit like PowerPoint with some scripting capabilities, client applications on iOS, Android, Windows, and HTML5 that work both online and offline, a server application that acts like an administrative control quarterback of the system for user management, workflow, version control, and a .NET SDK that's underlying all this technology that allows for some customization, embedding, and other things. Today, we will not be demonstrating all of these pieces. We will demonstrate a small piece of the client user application and the offline data replicator module, but that's about all we'll have time for today. Please do contact us if you'd like to see demonstrations of any of the other pieces in the puzzle. Since we know it's the tip of the iceberg you'll see today, we can certainly follow up with you to give you a more extensive demo at some point. So the MyForms mobile data capture system is now on version 10. It's been in the marketplace for more than a decade, and it's evolved quite a bit based on customer feedback and market feedback. And this does MyForms Enterprise software, which is the highest category of our MyForms software, leverages our offline data replicator module. We've got another product called My Enterprise Apps that leverages this module. And this product has to do with making your app development easier. Developing an enterprise-class mobile app is usually a pretty expensive, complicated, and lengthy exercise. This is some market research that shows us that the average cost to develop a native app on one platform is anywhere from about $70,000 to about $250,000. Pretty significant. When you want it to work on multiple platforms, you multiply that and it becomes pretty substantial. When you use platforms to do this in a more effective way than building everything from scratch, you can get it done a lot quicker and more effectively. So we know there's a lot of open source tools out there. We know there's a lot of development tools out there to build your mobile apps. So once you've built your mobile app, we've opened up our server infrastructure, the MyForms server, so you can leverage our proven server technology to handle things like user management, integration, workflow, business logic, syncing, security, a number of these other things that our technology has been doing for a number of years. So that makes it very easy for you to develop your app and get it done in weeks, not months or years. And so the My Enterprise Apps technology also leverages our offline data replicator module. So regardless of whether you're trying to deliver an app solution or a form solution of some kind, you can have access to this offline data replicator module. So with that, we want to keep this short and sweet. We do want to give Dave Nakamura a chance to show off this offline data replicator technology. And once we do that, we'll come back and finish up with a poll question or two. And we will also administer our pop quiz and give you some potential next steps. So stay tuned for our pop quiz and the chance to win that $5 gift card to Starbucks. So Dave, you can take it away and show the audience what we've got here. Just as a quick sample.
Great, thank you, Gautham. Okay, so today I will be showing two different demos. They are both on the Windows platform. And so before I begin, like Gautham stated, we have a number of different platforms supported as well. So we also have iOS and also Android platforms as well for the forms and also for the apps, and also using the data replication technology that we have with our product. So before I start, I'll talk a little bit about how these applications work. First of all, I'll start up this sample application that we have, and so this is merely it's more of a demo demonstrating how the data replication can be used on the client machine. And so the left-hand side here is obviously something that the user won't need to worry about, but it is meant to highlight the fact that it is connecting with a server. So these are all the server configuration type items. The information here that's provided and connecting and configuring the system can be hidden away from the user, it can be pushed down and all that, so the user doesn't need to worry about that. But it does highlight the fact that we have a password here, and there's a resource name, and so a username and so we just wanted to make sure that we had the fact that there's authentication going on and there's security here, that not just anyone can go and grab this data that resides up on the server. So the way that this application works is that first I will go ahead and register. Whoops, I think I need to actually put it into, there we go. Go ahead and register, and when I register, I'm basically telling the server that I'm a user and I'd like access to this data right here. The reason that we register is because later on, when we no longer need that data locally on the device, we need to deregister, which basically tells the background synchronizer that to remove this data. We don't want the data just to stick around on the local device when an application or a form is no longer needed. We need to make sure that that data is scrubbed off of the device for security purposes. Next, what the client can do is go ahead and actually retrieve that data from the server. And as you can see here at the very top, it's been completed. Now, this data that it retrieved, it's not just a flat table. It's actually a multi-dimensional, like a relational type database. It actually gets from the AdventureWorks database from Microsoft, so it's just a sample. But I can go ahead and search. So before I do that, obviously all of the actions that I just took now need to be while you're online. But now I can go ahead and go offline. So I'm going to turn off my internet connection. Just kidding, that was a joke. Obviously for this webinar, can't do that. But you'll have to trust me that right now what it's doing, this client is actually, imagine we're offline, and it's going to be interacting with a local SQLite database. So I go ahead and click search there. It did the query and just asking that SQLite database, who are the people in the database. So when it did that, obviously it was very fast, very quick. That's because everything is local. And that's one of the big advantages to having this system in place, not only if just for the fact of being offline, but just making your applications and solutions a lot quicker if you have that data local. Even if you're online, obviously you can make those types of queries on your local database, so those can be advantageous. Now, like I said, this data is multidimensional, so that when I choose different folks here in the list, it actually goes and makes a fairly, well, other types of queries, such as, okay, what's the address of this person, what's the telephone number, which exists in other tables. So as you can see, it picked up a number of folks here, and then I can go ahead and use this in my application for either lookup data or prefill or just a reference type of data. Obviously, let's say that if this was a patient list, you could be looking at previous patient records or something like that, or if it's equipment inspections that you're doing out in the field, these could be various types of devices or something out in the field. So that gives an overview of a customized type of application, perhaps built on our SDK, but right here it's using data replication. Now, a number of you might be asking about, well, what about, let me erase this. What about forms? Can we use forms and be able to use this data replication technology? And the answer is certainly yes. So I have a form here that is currently using data replication. And so, again, you'll just have to trust me that right now, if we were offline, it's going to be connecting with a SQLite database. And so inspector ID here, I can go ahead and put 4231. And as I do so, it's going to go ahead and do its, well, it should be doing its lookup. I don't know why it's not. Sorry about that. One moment. Let's see, make sure this is working.
Well, Dave, I've never had the demo dolly curse where something invariably ends up taking away one.
Yeah, it's all how the demo goes. Let me close that. Let me bring up another one.
While you're doing that, Dave, let me ask you a quick question that was on my mind. It also came up.
Go ahead.
Audience members. So the details you showed earlier, is that something an inspector or service technician or an end user in the field has to worry about? Or can all that be propagated down by an admin from the server side and the end users don't have to worry about it?
Certainly. So, all of the configuration details and all that can be hidden away from the user to make sure that, any type of configuration or, details about connecting with the server can be handled. Now, with that said, we also need to make sure that when you start the application, the user has a way of authenticating, and that's also taken care of as well. So that can be handled, through the solution to make sure that, your users have the most streamlined process, but also you have security in place to make sure that that data is held secure. So. And I apologize, I do not know why this is not working out as I had worked out before. My apologies. It's not working like it was this morning. So I think we'll have to skip on that demo, and I'll continue on to you, Gautham. Sorry about that.
That's all right, Dave. Well, we've all had a situation where something or the other is a technical glitch, but for folks that are interested, we can certainly set up an individual session for you, not just on that offline module showing you how that's working. And by the way, what you saw there was actually going in live, and it's about to be deployed for a government agency, and it's going live next week. So clearly this technology is almost about to get out there and be used in the field for exactly the purposes we've been discussing. Dave, a couple of folks were suggesting to us that maybe you typed in the wrong number, that perhaps you typed in 4321, not 4231. That's a helpful hint. That might be part of your problem there. Maybe a little human error, which I know we've never seen that before, right?
It's a great suggestion. Thank you. But yeah, it doesn't appear to be so.
Okay.
So
well, we'll pick it up.
My apologies. It was working this morning. I don't know what happened there. So sorry about that. The only thing I can think of is the interaction with the other demo. I don't know.
Okay. Well, we'll take care of it another time. Well, folks, you saw the quick update there and demo from Dave. All that technology is set up to work. A lot of you have seen our MyForms demos before. So imagine all that big data set sitting on your device, whether it's an iPhone, an Android tablet, it's a Windows tablet, a laptop of some kind. You've got all that information with you when you're in the field, when you're in a remote area, or when you're in an urban area, just when you drop that connectivity. So that's the kind of power of grabbing all the data in a very seamless way. And like one of the questioners had asked, you could certainly do that in a way that doesn't require end users to be putting in a lot of details. It just happens automatically for them. Now, having seen that, I do want to go ahead and set up another poll question for you. So I know you didn't get to see an extensive example today, but let's go ahead and ask you, based on what you've seen and heard so far, understanding you haven't seen the entire spectrum of it, tell us a little bit, give us some feedback about whether you want us to discuss this in more detail with you. We certainly don't want to hammer all of you if some of you decide this is perhaps not necessarily something that you require. So give us some feedback on how appropriate technology like this is for your business requirements, for your offline challenges. So I've got a poll up here, and we'll ask you to take a vote on it. And go ahead and let us know. Give us some feedback here. So we'll leave it up here for another 30 seconds. We've got about 47%, 50% of you that voted. It's fun to see these numbers kind of change right in front of our eyes here. Okay, we'll go ahead and wrap this up in 10 seconds or so. 55%. Look at you. You're responding here. So if you're one of those remaining 40% of the folks that haven't voted, go ahead and tell us what you think here. We'd love to hear your feedback. Okay, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this poll. Thank you for participating in that. Now, as we go back into this presentation, I did promise you a pop quiz, and so I want to make sure we deliver on that promise. We'll have 10 to 15 minutes set aside for your Q&A and discussion, but I did promise you a pop quiz, so I will go ahead and initiate that pop quiz. And just so you know what's at stake here, the first correct answer in the chat window that answers the question, we'll send you an electronic gift card for $5 to Starbucks. So keep that in the back of your mind. Question's about to come across your screen. Hope your keyboard is all ready and you're ready to type. Correct spelling is somewhat optional based on our discretion. And here you go. So the question should be coming across your screen in just a second here. Which of our products incorporates this offline data replicator module that you've seen today? So go ahead and chat or put in the question and answer panel your answers to this question. Which of our products, and you need to name the products, 2 of them, take advantage of this offline data replicator module that you've seen today? I'm seeing a nice flood of responses here. Okay, remember there's 2 products. Okay, so we'll leave it up there for a second or 2, and then we're going to go ahead and close this poll as well. And appreciate those of you that voted. Looks like not a lot of you took a stab at that. You sure you don't want that $5 Starbucks gift card? Maybe some of you are not into coffee, but you know they've got tea and coffee cakes and all kinds of other things in there now too. Okay, we got a few more people try their hand. Okie dokie, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. So we'll see who answered this question, and who got it right. We'll be back in touch with you about that. Thanks for participating. Okay, so with that, we are ready to move into our Q&A and discussion phase. We'll take your questions, we'll take your comments, your compliments, we'll take them all. So go ahead and use the chat question windows. Go ahead and use the chat windows. We'll take your questions here. Dave, to start us off with, kind of a fun question here. I wanted to let you know that somebody answered your question earlier about where do you think you were when you took the picture of your bio picture there. We showed them the earlier screens. So a couple of folks hazarded a guess. One person said Alaska, ? The other one, 2 other people guessed you were at the Olympics. One of them said Olympics in Sochi, and the other one just said Olympic Stadium. What's the right answer there?
Well, it's very close. It's actually the Olympics in Vancouver, Canada.
Ah, well, good try, folks.
Yeah, Winter Olympics. Yeah.
You were dancing right around the edges there, but no, not quite.
Yeah,
okay.
Those are great guesses.
Well, let me go ahead and share some of the questions that we've been seeing here. Dave, maybe you and I can tag team on some of these. So
sure.
One of the questioners asked that you've showed us how to get the data onto the device. How do you sync it back to the main database?
Yeah, I can answer that question. So certainly, that needs to be done. So it all depends upon the actual solution and how it is designed. There are a number of methods that we have seen, and certainly ones that we've deployed and support as far as its of exporting of data. And so you can use some of our sort of standard type of exports, or a more customized approach depending upon your existing database and how structured it is, and how it needs to tie in with your existing database. In certain solutions and customized solutions, maybe you have to make sure that it ties in with existing records. And so those types of relationships need to be kept intact as you update your data and add data or new records to, let's say, an existing entity in your database. So all of those can be handled as well. And so you can kind of see a cycle going there, certainly with data replication, making sure that you're able to download and have the latest data that's been updated by other users in the field. That can be propagated onto the client devices as well once they come online and synchronize.
Great. Well, thank you for answering that question, Dave. I've got a number of other good questions coming in, so let me start handing those out like candy here. So one question says, your productions look very client-server oriented. Are you looking at a SaaS model? Is there reasoning behind how you architected this system?
That's a very very good question. And so certainly we have a server client type of model, and so whether that server is going to be hosted on-premise, or if it's through a cloud type of arrangement, or if you have let's say different services that you might be hosting or be using as well, that can be used in the solution. But as far as our servers are, they're going to be solutions that you can either install through your systems, or we can make arrangements in talking with Gautham as far as having hosted by us as well.
Yep, and I will just add to that for the questioner's benefit that MyForm solutions can be deployed both on-premise and hosted, and same is true of My Enterprise apps. So it can be deployed through an Amazon AWS server, virtually. You could have all the server components sitting in the cloud. It certainly does not have to be on-premise. Now, obviously, on the device itself, there's got to be a piece of software, a client, in order to work offline. Even Google Maps has its piece of software sitting on your device to allow you to work offline and just leverage the device and its resources effectively. So certainly happy to dive into that in more detail with you. Dave, we've got a question about can you release these forms into any repository such as SharePoint? And I'll go ahead and answer that. And the answer is yes, we certainly can. We've worked with a number of customers on integrating with SharePoint in a number of ways, so that it's certainly possible, and we've got some video examples that we can share with you to release data and forms and documents into SharePoint and other repositories. There's a question, Dave, about how is encryption handled on the mobile device database? So how is encryption handled there?
Yeah, very good question. And so, yeah, the encryption is handled by the solution in terms of how, in terms of that data residing, on a device and locked down. Different platforms also have their own encryption schemes as well. For instance, iOS has an encryption called data protection that basically encrypts the data that is stored for applications and is basically decrypted by the system once the user types in a passcode of some kind. So, we use both system level and also application level type of encryption to make sure that data is secure.
Great, thank you for answering that. There's also a question here that says, can you talk about the options for keeping replicated data current? Meaning, can you set a timer based on the type of data to determine how often it replicates?
Yes, that's a very good question, and one I didn't elaborate on. Certainly you saw, where you could sort of force a synchronization to take place when I press the button that says Get Data. Ultimately, all the platforms also have a type of background service that will periodically pull and synchronize data sort of in the background without user interaction, so the user can, it's very streamlined in that sense. And so you can set up the pull time span, how often you want to be able to synchronize. And also when it synchronizes, it's very intelligent in terms of how to handle either full backups or incremental, I shouldn't say backups, but full replication or incremental replication. In other words, if there's new data that exists on the server, it's an update. If it's small enough, it's able to calculate, okay, I can send this small change to the client. Or if it's a large enough change, it just decides, okay, I'm going to send a full copy, I guess, of that data down to the client. So it's very intelligent about handling that. Just to make sure that everything's streamlined and we make, efficient use of the bandwidth, it comes into play there.
Great, thank you for answering that. Got a couple other good ones. This one, another question is, do you have real-time data sync capabilities from our database, customer database, to a database in your repository that will eventually sync down to the mobile device? So
I think the question there was talking about how the data, I guess, moves from an existing database over to our replication server database. In between there is what we call a data adapter, and it's a piece of code basically that is able to look at the existing data, decide, okay, you need to know somehow what's the schema, what's that data look like, what's the, and how does it hold all the data content. So it has that, and then also is able to pull the actual data content and then move that on towards the replication server, which ultimately resides in a SQL database. But we need to know, okay, what type of data are we holding and what is the data that it's holding there. That data adapter can be either on a scheduled task, can be run, forced run by a user, a data administrator if they need it. But I think in most deployments what we're seeing is a use of some sort of scheduled task, maybe every 24 hours or something like that.
Great, thank you. One other question here, with the MyForms Enterprise product, is it possible to include a chart based off of offline data in a form?
And I think the question is maybe talking a bit about like a reporting chart. Is that right, Gautham?
It appears to be the case. Yeah, we can ask the questioner to elaborate a little bit, but I believe it's about maybe a reporting chart, or perhaps it's including an image of a chart in the form itself.
Yeah, so I think what I can imagine there is certainly like is the data that is within the data that is available is going to be replicated to the client, and that data is in a SQLite database. And then at the time of display or showing that data to the user out in the field, certainly it can be used to populate as a data set into some sort of chart and can be displayed to the user in that sense. And so, yes, I can very much see that take place. If the question was about maybe about like a dashboard chart or something like that, let's say it exists on the web and all that, that can also be handled as well. But I think the question was more about the client.
Clarification. And yeah, I think that you're exactly right. I got some clarification about, imagine taking a reading daily of various equipment or other things in the field and being able to report a line chart of the last 7 days of those meter readings. So I think that's kind of the context of the question there.
Okay. Yeah, and certainly, if you have that type of, I think the clarifying statement there, that, is talking about historical data. So that historical data is going to exist, can be pulled from the SQLite database, and then used to show some sort of line chart.
Okie dokie. The last question I've got here, then I'll wrap up, is relating to, for HIPAA compliance, if a device is lost, can the data be compromised? And that goes back, I think, to the encryption question earlier, right?
Yes, certainly. So, there's a number of things there, but yeah, on a device level, making sure that there's absolutely no access to that data. If in conjunction maybe with an MDM type of solution, making sure that if the device is truly locked, that the device can also be wiped out remotely. There's a number of solutions to make sure that that takes place. But just making sure that there's no access to that data. It depends upon the solution and it depends upon the platform, but all of those concerns can be handled on a customized type basis. But we work with the system to make sure that that data is not compromised.
Great, thank you, Dave. Well, in the interest of time, folks, there's a couple other questions. We will get with you individually on those. But in the meantime, we do want to wrap up in the interest of time. So thank you, Dave, for answering those questions, fielding them left, right, and center as I threw them at you. Let's go ahead and wrap up here. We do want to mention for everyone still on the call and in the meeting, we are ready to announce next month's webinar. So certainly hope that you've got a lot of information and knowledge and experience out of what we've done today. Next month, we're pleased to present a government mobility success story and interview. So North Carolina Department of Agriculture, which is a longtime customer, will be joining us. I believe that's Thursday, August 21 at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. If you hit our homepage, www.mi-corporation.com, you will see a link to register, and we will also send you an invite. So they will be sharing best practices and success stories, and so look forward to having you all join us. The last question we want to ask the audience before everybody leaves is help us understand some of the topics of interest for you for future webinars. So this poll should be coming across your screen now. We'll ask you to take one last poll here and then wrap up. So we want to find out what kind of topics are interesting to you for webinars in future months. So please go ahead and give us your input. We'd love to find out what are topics of interest for you. We've got a few suggestions over here that you can pick from, but certainly go ahead and chat other suggestions or put them in the quick Q&A window for other suggestions you have for webinar topics, and we'd love to incorporate as many of those as we can. So leave this up here for another 20 seconds. See what are the topics that you guys have in mind that will be interesting both to you and for our partners, for your customers as well. We've got about 50% of the folks that have voted. Thank you for taking the time. I'm going to go ahead and close out this poll in about 5 seconds here. Okay, thank you. And so with that, we want to thank you for your time. Some suggested next steps for you. Visit our website. We've got all kinds of information about our products and technology, some best practices, resources, industry knowledge, in addition about our offline solutions as well. Demo software, we can arrange customized demos for you that are more full-featured in full length. We've got apps in the App Stores you can play with. We've got YouTube videos. And contact us to get started with your offline challenges and how the journey to solving them. So we will be in touch with you as follow-up. We'll send out the recording and the slide decks as we mentioned. And want to thank you for your time. Hope you learned something today. And stay tuned, too, for that one lucky person to get that $5 Starbucks gift card. I know someone was joking earlier on the Q&A window, what can you buy for $5 at Starbucks? Well, I guess you'll find out, whoever the lucky winner is. So Dave, thank you for your time. Shay, anything you want to say to wrap up, and we'll go ahead and conclude.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for your time, and certainly let us know if you have any questions and if there's anything that we can help out with. And we understand offline data is a huge need in the marketplace, and we would love to work with you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the day, weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.